Hatano's just a regular dude haunted by a childhood memory that's straight up traumatizing. Back in the day, he thought his best buddy was a boy, until he accidentally saw her. Mama. Yep, you heard that right. Turns out his bro was a girl, and the guilt from that moment hit him like a truck. He ghosted her without a word, and ever since, talking to girls? Total nope. Our boy's been dodging them like their final exams. Fast forward to now, Hatano's dreaming of a peaceful life as a solo king, until the Chinese government, yep, you heard that right, decides to mess with his vibe by adding love as a mandatory school subject. Love in school. Like what? Today's lesson? Personal space, taught by the coolest teacher ever with a personality that's straight fire. She breaks it down like this. 360 centimeters. Public distance, keep it chill. 120 centimeters. Social distance, like chatting with classmates. 45 centimeters. Personal distance, getting a bit cozy. Anything closer? Woo-hoo distance, baby. Here's where it gets spicy. The teacher pairs everyone up to test this personal distance thing, and who does Hatano get? Nanase Ai, the class's absolute goddess. Perfect looks, mysterious vibe, and a face that gives nothing away. Poor Hatano's sweating bullets already. He sneaks a glance at her, but, plot twist, she's already staring at him. Cue internal screaming. Then, Nanase asked him if he had a girlfriend. Hatano, our socially awkward loner, mumbled a no while his brain was in full panic mode. And then, boom! Nanase leaned on his shoulder and asked if it was a problem if she got that close to test the intimate distance. Intimate distance? Hatano's mind was yelling, huge problem! But his mouth frozen. Meanwhile, the other dudes in class were glaring daggers, ready to yeet him out the window.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
One guy even told him that he was so dead after class. Hatano, with zero game when it comes to girls, is a nervous wreck. Nanase's perfection is intimidating, and her cool, unreadable aura, terrifying. The guy literally collapses from the stress of being that close to her. His classmates, they're calling him a creep. Harsh, but are they wrong? Hatano's convinced this love subject is the worst thing to ever hit planet Earth. Cut to the staff room, where the teacher asked him if he was feeling better. He nodded, still dazed, and mustered the courage to ask why she had dragged him there. Her answer, brutal. She told him that he was probably getting held back a year. Ouch. His soul? Crushed. Desperate, he blurted out and asked if this love subject was really that important. The teacher told him that the government said if he failed love, he wouldn't advance, period. But she wasn't that cruel. She saw Hatano struggling and handed him a lifeline. She told him that only with experience and information would answers be found by him, passing him a note. She added that a supplementary class for students at risk of failing had been set up by her, and that he wasn't alone. There was one other student. Hatano was shocked. Another loner like him? Who could it be? Enter the supplementary class, and bam! A girl burst in, apologizing for being late, only to trip spectacularly and faceplant on the floor. And, in true anime fashion, her fall accidentally flashed her mama right at Hatano. Meet Inokawa Akane, or as we'll call her for our sanity, Ah-chan. If you didn't catch that, yes, she's the childhood friend from Hatano's traumatizing past. Small world, huh? The teacher, unfazed by Ah-chan's exposure, casually asked if they knew each other. Hatano, trying not to die of embarrassment, mumbled that they were childhood friends. Ah-chan was still sprawled on the floor, oblivious to her wardrobe malfunction. Talk about an entrance. In the self-study room, Hatano's channeling his inner Ryan Gosling, cool, detached, definitely not looking for a girlfriend, as he stares at his test paper. But then he noticed Ah-chan staring at him, her eyes practically sparkling. He asked her what was up, bracing himself. Her face lit up, and she scooted closer, gushing that it had been forever, and asked if supplementary classes sucked, right? As she inched into his personal space, he panicked and told her to respect his bubble. reminding her of personal space and that it had been learned by them in love class. Achan blinked, confused, and asked what personal space was. Hatano, trying to keep his cool, explained it was a psychological distance thing, 360 centimeters, 120 centimeters, 45 centimeters, you know the drill. But when she kept closing in, he lost it and practically yeeted her out of the room, telling her to stay back. She started shouting back, and he told her to keep it down. Classic anime chaos. Outside, Achan pouted that he was as distant as ever. Our boy, flustered, somehow blamed her for his awkwardness. When he hesitated to call her Achan, she smiled softly and told him it was cool and that he could call her Achan. And then, plot twist, it hit him. Achan was the childhood friend who accidentally showed him her mama all those years ago. Back then, he thought she was a boy, so it didn't faze him until he realized she wasn't. Now, he's convinced he basically harassed her and carries that guilt like a backpack full of bricks. No wonder he's terrified of girls. Hatano's spiraling, thinking, love? Me? Impossible. But then Achan's expression turned sad, and she asked if he hated her now. He quickly shut that down, asking why he would hate her. But she wasn't done. She pressed, asking why he had stopped hanging out with her. Hatano froze. He had no answer, and Achan wasn't letting it slide this time. With a trembling voice, she spilled her heart. Ever since he ditched her, she had been paranoid that everyone disliked her. She overthought every interaction, worried she was too clingy, and, ouch, it had cost her all her friends. Now she was as alone as Hatano. Tears started falling, and Hatano, feeling like the world's worst human, begged her not to cry. He apologized, saying that he hadn't thought about how she felt. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, let's just say Larry will execute you tomorrow night at 11 p.m. And then, out of nowhere, Achan told him to take responsibility by marrying her. Hatano was stunned by Achan's clinginess. It was like she hadn't changed a bit since they were kids. He wondered why she didn't hate him after the whole Mama incident. Finally, he snapped out of it and told her not to throw marriage around like that, asking if she even knew what it meant. Achan, unfazed, grinned and said that if they got married, they could skip the dumb love subject altogether. Hatano's jaw dropped. He muttered that it was genius, half impressed, before quickly backtracking, saying there was no way and that he couldn't marry her because he had a problem. Curious, Achan tilted her head and asked what problem. Hatano hesitated, then spilled the beans, saying that he couldn't handle being around girls. Achan was confused, saying that they used to play together all the time. Hatano sighed, explaining that it was because he had thought she was a boy, that she had been super violent, and that bugs had been caught by her like it was nothing. Achan's eyes widened as it clicked, and she said that it had all stopped after they took that bath together. Her face turned beet red, and she hid it in her hands, mumbling that she had been right, she guessed. Hatano, trying to lighten the mood, teased her, asking if she thought he had freaked out over her mountains of personality, saying that she had been flat as a chessboard back then. Achan's blush deepened, and Hatano called her out, saying that she was red as a tomato. He admitted that it was pathetic, he knew, but he got all nervous around anyone with a, ma. Hatano was kicking himself, feeling like the ultimate loser. He apologized for ghosting her back then, but Achan brushed it off, saying that it was fine. Hatano started to walk away, muttering that love wasn't for a guy like him and that he didn't deserve it. But Achan grabbed his arm, telling him to hold up and that if he skipped this subject, he would get held back a year, which was like delinquent behavior. Hatano raised an eyebrow, asking since when she was an honor student. He tugged at his bag, trying to leave, but Achan's grip was tight. He pulled a bit harder, and, whoops, she tripped and landed right on top of him, her face inches from his. In true anime fashion, it was a full-on wee-wee moment, with Hatano trapped under her, mountains of personality. Achan didn't even get up right away, staring into his eyes as she asked if it was weird for his heart to race around someone of the opposite sex. Hatano's brain was buffering. Heart racing? Achan kept going, her voice soft but serious, saying that everyone had someone they liked, right? and that it was normal to feel nervous when around them. She admitted that she couldn't keep her cool around the person she liked. Then, locking eyes with him, she asked if he felt that way about someone. Mitsuki. Hatano was freaking out. Why was she getting so serious? And she pressed, asking who made his heart race. But just then, the classroom door opened. Two girls walked in. One said she thought she heard voices while the gyaru muttered it was probably just in her head. Meanwhile, Mitsuki, oh boy, my man was straight up buried in Achan's mountains of personality. Dude was suffocating. He had already used up all the oxygen in there. And instead of pushing her off, he just kept squeezing tighter. Once the two side characters finally left, Achan let Mitsuki go. But when she looked at him, the dude was already out of breath like he just finished a marathon. Mitsuki was deep in thought about what she'd said earlier. For so long, he believed it was pathetic to be unable to deal with girls. He thought he was weak, guilty, and stuck in denial. But maybe it was time to face his feelings. Achan almost thought he had actually died. He snapped out of it and, to her surprise, thanked her. She blinked, confused, and asked what for. Hatano took a deep breath, saying that he was going to take those love supplemental classes seriously. He admitted that he had thought he was the only weirdo out there, too scared to even know if he liked someone. But if studying love could change that, he was in. His eyes locked onto hers with such intensity that Achan wondered if he was about to propose or something. But, plot twist, Hatano's mind wasn't on Achan. Nope, it was on Nanase Ai, the class beauty with the, bigger personality. Cue the drama. Flashback time. Earlier, when Hatano collapsed in class after Nanase Ai's shoulder-leaning stunt, he woke up to find her face hovering over him, gasping her name, Nanase-san, and bolting upright. She confirmed he was okay, then roasted him, saying that he had passed out like a total moron, wasting her time. Hatano mumbled an apology, but Nanase just shrugged and walked off, cool as ever. The teacher, let's call her Professor Mommy, checked on him, revealing that Hatano had been princess carried by Nanase all the way to the staff room and watched over by her until he woke up. Yup, our boy was smitten. At first, Hatano thought Nanase Ai was in another league, untouchable, like a goddess from another dimension. But knowing she cared enough to carry him, his heart was doing somersaults and he was daydreaming about her having a crush on him. Total simp mode activated. Achan noticed his dreamy expression and snapped, asking what was with that face and saying that he hadn't even been there when he collapsed. Hatano, confused, asked why she was so mad. Achan, the ultimate tsundere, crossed her arms and huffed, saying that she wasn't mad. But buddy, she was totally in love with him and not hiding it well. To up the ante, she smirked and said that she was in love with Ren-kun. Record scratch. Ren-kun? Oh, he's Nanase Ai's twin brother. Hot, popular, and basically Ai's male counterpart in the looks department. Achan grinned mischievously, asking if he was sad now. Hatano, unfazed, shrugged, asking why he would be. Achan's jaw dropped as she shouted that Ren-kun was 1,000 times better than him. Achan, still fuming, adjusted her posture, trying to make her, personality seem as impressive as Nanase Ai's, and snapped, asking why he thought she was in these love supplemental classes. Hatano, in a rare moment of brilliance, or maybe just desperation, blurted out that it was a deal, that he would help her get Ren-kun, and she would help him get Nanase Ai, and they would learn love together. Between the two of them, they had like 2 brain cells to rub together, so naturally Achan mistook this for some kind of romantic proposal. Her eyes lit up, and she squealed that the deal was accepted. Hatano, oblivious to her misunderstanding, asked how they would pull this off. Achan, secretly wanting to sabotage his crush on Ai, deflected like a pro, telling him to just focus on the supplemental classes, dummy. Hatano squinted, asking why she was having so much fun with this. Achan gave him an idea to confess to Ai-san, which he found a bit too much for his range. Fast forward to class the next day, where Nanase Ai was reading a textbook aloud, her voice as cool and captivating as ever. Hatano was officially in goon mode, staring at her like she was the main character in a shoujo manga. When she caught him with a side-eye glance, he panicked, ducked behind his book, and prayed for invisibility. Embarrassing? Oh, you bet. Later in their love supplemental class, Hatano and Achan were stuck studying together, both crushing on different people. Hatano on Ai, Achan on, well, supposedly Renkun. After class, Achan barreled toward him, ready to love-bomb him with her usual clingy energy. But Hatano wasn't having it. He snapped, asking if they hadn't said they should confess to Ai and Renkun, and told her to go home if she wasn't serious. Achan pouted, saying that she was serious, but we all know she was stalling to keep him to herself. Hatano was this close to figuring out her Tsundere game when she suggested that they write love letters to them. Hatano froze. A love letter? That's like next-level commitment. He demanded to know why she was so eager about this. Achan, barely hiding her true feelings, mumbled that she just wanted to see what kind of letter he would write. Bro, she's dropping hints bigger than an anime beach episode. But Hatano's too dense to notice. She grabbed his arm, dragging him to a desk to start writing. In the chaos, they tripped and bam! Ended up in another classic anime tumble, sprawled on the floor in a totally awkward position. Hatano scrambled to push her off, red-faced, while Achan, equally embarrassed, yelled that he was a pervert. Right then, Professor Mami, the teacher, walked in, asking if they were actually studying. You'd think she'd scold them, right? Nope. She just smirked and told them to carry on. What? Hatano and Achan froze, too mortified to move. Ungrateful kids? Maybe, but this is peak anime chaos. After they untangled themselves, the teacher sat them down for a proper lecture. She said that she had come to check on them because she was worried, her tone sharp. She added that instead of doing their assignments, they were starting their own rom-com mating season out there. Hatano and Achan shrank in their seats, caught red-handed in their whirlwind of crushes, jealousy, and love letter disasters. Then Professor Mami asked if they were practicing for adult romance lessons to make her proud. Hatano and Achan, flustered, blurted out that there was no way. Yeah, nice try, guys. The teacher sighed, saying that if they kept going at that rate, they would both be repeating the year. They mumbled apologies, but she wasn't done. She asked if they had had the audacity to plan love letters to their crushes. Hatano, sweating bullets, stammered that they were going to study from scratch. Honest. The teacher scoffed, asking if she was expected to believe that they had skipped their assignments. But, plot twist, Professor Mami was intrigued, saying that she liked love letters. She decided to make it official, announcing a new assignment, to write a love letter to their crush, to think carefully about how to convey their feelings, and that while she wasn't there to meddle in their love lives, they were doing this. Hatano's heart sank. This was his worst nightmare. Achan, shy around everyone but Hatano, instantly chirped that she was in. Classic Tsundere move. Later, they sat down to write their love letters, and Hatano was panicking. He'd never written one before. Did he even know how? This homework was weird. Achan, hovering over his shoulder, got on his nerves, and he told her to go write her own letter. She blinked, realizing that she had to write one too. Turns out Achan was just as clueless about love letters as he was. 2 brain cells, 0 experience. While scribbling, Hatano asked what she liked about Renkun. Achan froze, confused. He clarified that it might help him figure out his letter. She thought hard, her face turning pink. Hatano raised an eyebrow, asking if she even liked him. Achan, flustered, shouted that, of course she liked him, and asked why she was being doubted. Hatano backtracked, saying that he wasn't doubting, and tried again, asking what she liked about him. After some deep thought, Achan mumbled that she liked his face, looking away, and quickly added that she liked other stuff too. Hatano nodded, saying that she was into his looks and got it. Then Achan turned the tables, asking what he liked about Nanase Ai. Hatano clammed up, staring at his blank paper. She pressed, asking if it was because she was kind to him. Hatano sighed, saying that he didn't even know if it was love or something else, and that he just wanted to know more about her. Achan's eyes narrowed, but she hid her jealousy behind a forced smile. Bro, this guy's denser than a harem protagonist, and Achan's hints were flying right over his head. Achan's heart was racing. She was falling harder for Hatano by the second, but he was too busy daydreaming about Nanase Ai to notice. He knew chasing Ai was probably a long shot, but deep down, he hoped this love letter mess might bring him closer to her. Meanwhile, Achan was practically screaming, "Notice me, senpai," in her head, craving his attention while he was out here simping for someone else. Hatano finally finished his love letter, his first ever, and it was a big deal for a guy who could barely talk to girls without melting into a puddle of nerves. His plan? Slip it into Nanase Ai's shoe locker after school to avoid any witnesses. Sneaky, right? Before heading out, he reminded Achan not to forget her letter for Ren-kun. Achan, still scheming to keep Hatano to herself, just nodded with a mischievous glint in her eye. At the shoe locker area, Hatano's courage evaporated. Hiding behind a wall like a total coward, he shoved both letters at Achan and told her to do it. Poor Achan was stuck doing the dirty work, her hands shaking as she approached the lockers. Nanase Ai showed up, cool and composed, just standing there, not touching her locker. Then, bam! Ai called out, asking what Hatano was hiding back there. Hatano nearly jumped out of his skin, heart pounding like he was in a horror anime. To make matters worse, Ren-kun appeared and asked what Achan was doing at his locker, raising an eyebrow. I, ever the queen, chimed in, asking why they were still there since school had been over for ages. Achan was on the verge of passing out from stress, her tsundere facade crumbling. Hatano, in full panic mode, sprinted over, snatched the letters from Achan, and shoved them into the lockers, completely at random. Grabbing Achan's hand, he bolted down the hallway like the Reverse Flash, yelling that they had to go, sorry, as they vanished in a cloud of anime dust. Ren-kun, left behind, muttered that they were kind of noisy. Then he noticed the letter in his locker and wondered if it was a love letter. Meanwhile, at Nanase Ai's house, she was staring at the letter she got, too embarrassed to open it at first. When she finally read it, her eyes widened. It was so romantic, it could rival a shoujo manga. But major plot twist, Hatano mixed up the letters in his panic. Ai got Achan's letter, and Ren-kun got Hatano's. Whoops. Ai's mind was racing. She was used to everyone seeing her as perfect, always living up to their sky-high expectations. It was exhausting, but she made it look easy. This letter, though, it was different. It was raw, heartfelt, and confusing. She didn't know Achan well, but even if it was from a girl, she felt a proper response should be given. After all, that was what the perfect Nanase Ai would do. As she reread the letter, her cheeks flushed. She wondered if her confession could actually be accepted by her. Her mind spiraled. Where would they go on a first date? Was holding hands okay? The thought of it got her heart racing, and for once, the unflappable Ai was flustered, maybe even excited to explore these new feelings. Ren-kun, on the other hand, opened his letter and was equally stunned by its passion.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Ever since she was a kid, Nanase Ai had been obsessed with shoujo manga, dreaming of a love as sparkly and dramatic as the pages she read. Her curiosity about romance, fueled by all those manga, helped her ace the academic side of the love subject. But real love? She was as clueless as Hatano and Achan. This letter from Achan felt like her final chance to understand the real thing, and she couldn't ignore Achan's feelings, or her own. So determined to give a proper response, I headed to the supplemental love class to meet Achan. A week had passed since the locker fiasco, and Hatano and Achan still hadn't heard back about their letters. Professor Mami called them out in class, saying that they had no responses yet, smirking. Hatano wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. The teacher explained that they barely knew Ai and Ren-kun, so no wonder they hadn't replied. They might even think they were creeps. Hatano groaned that he just wanted to know Ai's answer, even if it was a no. Professor Mami raised an eyebrow, asking if he was already giving up. He mumbled that she was clearly not interested. The teacher shook her head, saying that he shouldn't assume silence meant rejection, that someone he ignored on day 1 might answer by day 10, or even eventually fall for him. Achan's eyes lit up, clearly imagining her and Hatano as the endgame. But our boy was too dense to notice. The teacher continued her lecture, saying that if he wanted to get closer, he should spend time in a smaller circle, like a club or these extra classes. Hatano scoffed, saying that I would never show up to a place like this, even if he begged. But bam! The classroom door swung open, and Nanase Ai herself walked in, cool as ever, saying that she had been told it was the additional love lessons class. Hatano's jaw hit the floor. What the heck was happening? His brain was in full panic mode, wondering how his unattainable crush ended up here. Turns out Professor Mami, seeing Hatano's pathetic state, invited Ai to join the class. Sneaky sensei. The teacher handed over the teaching duties to Ai and dipped out, leaving Hatano sweating bullets. Was the letter going to be roasted by her, he thought, bracing for the worst. Ai, poised as always, said that she had planned only to observe, but since she had been made sensei, she would do her job properly, asking if there were any questions. Hatano considered asking about the letter but chickened out, too scared of her reaction. He wondered how she was so calm after getting a love letter, oblivious to the fact that I wasn't there for him. She was there for Achan. I turned to Achan, her gaze softening, saying that she was Enokawa from the class next door, right? And that she was glad they finally met. Achan's face turned tomato red, her tsundere heart racing as she realized Ai's attention was on her. Hatano, still clueless, thought Ai's calm demeanor meant his letter was being ignored by her. But the real tea? Ai's heart was fluttering because of Achan's letter, and this shujo-style mix-up was about to get even messier. Achan, panicking under Ai's gaze, bowed deeply, stammering that it was nice to meet her. Hatano finally noticed Ai had been staring at Achan the whole time, and his heart sank, wondering if he had misread everything. Ai, ever polite, turned to him and asked if she was bothering him by being there. He shook his head, saying not at all, and seized the chance to thank her for saving him when he fainted. Ai shrugged, saying that no thanks needed to be given and that anyone would have done it. Hatano's heart was pounding like a shonen hero facing a final boss. She's so cool, he thought. She seemed cold, but she was actually kind. That was what he liked about her. Meanwhile, Achan's jealousy was hitting critical levels. Unable to stay quiet, she blurted out that she had a question. Her sudden loudness nearly gave Hatano a heart attack. Achan, blushing furiously, asked if physical contact meant mere exposure. Ai tilted her head, saying that technically it could, but frequent meetings mattered more than touching. Achan, in a bold tsundere move, mumbled that if someone got close to you a lot, would you fall for them? Both Ai and Hatano froze, shocked by her audacity. Achan almost spilled the beans about their accidental wihui moment, but Hatano, in a panic, clapped his hand over her mouth to stop her. Ai's eyes widened, and she asked if they were in that kind of relationship. Hatano, desperate to clear the air, pulled his hand away and stammered that, no, she was just his childhood friend, and that it had been an accident years ago. But Ai's mind was racing. She thought Hatano's innocent act was a front and Aya-san might be calling out for help through the love letter. She wondered if he was secretly a creep taking advantage of Achan, misinterpreting the letter as a cry for help. Glaring at Hatano, she told him to take his hands off her, calling him a shady guy and saying that people who looked innocent were the most dangerous. Hatano's jaw dropped, and he tried to explain, but I cut him off, telling him to be quiet. He let go of Achan, hoping she would clear things up. But oh boy, she made it worse. Achan said that Mitsuki looked rough, but was super gentle when he got close, like a few days ago, but just for a second. Ai's eyes narrowed, convinced Hatano had gone too far. In a dramatic move to save Achan, I stepped forward, only to trip and fall right onto my boy. Now what happens next won't be shown in this channel. You know what is happening. I can just say because it all was seen by him now she has to marry, since she is as pure as James.